UgandaEyenkya.
Thank you for amend the PPDA articles to include the bedrock, the future, and the people who birth economies in the nations. It is the women. It is the youth. Though sometimes they are informal, that URA does not see them on the radar, but without them, nations will starve. And they have ideas, and they work. My working in Karamoja and Chiriandongo has opened my eyes to realize that Ugandans are not lazy. They just lack a real opportunity. The 1 year we've been there in Karamoja, we have seen people coming, learning. The first season, now they are planting their own fields. The problem is the markets, and I believe we're going to work on that. But my contribution, Mr. Chairman, will be on the hows. It is true that devil is in the detail. My prayer is that this scheme, let's make it work. Because we've seen youth livelihood program, we don't know what happened to that. There have come so many, our president has come out with so many ideas which will get Uganda out of poverty in just 1 year. We are seeing it in Karamoja. For us, we are dealing with agriculture, and we are growing a particular crop, and we are seeing people's lives changing. The issue is the how. It's a great idea, interesting, powerful, but how? Without checks and balances, this also will die. Because I've seen it in Karamoja. We have 2,000 acres we plant every season. And so we did not use technology to weed, because that would be the cheapest and the quickest. We wanted to bring the Karamojong from a nomadic life to agriculture and then back to cattle farming and raising goats. So we asked them to bring people, and these are leaders. I'm not talking about, these are not leaders, these are leaders, LC1, LC2, LC3, to recruit people to come and weed. And guess what they do? They bring their cousins, their nephew, their mothers-in-law. It's not inclusive. How are you going to make sure that the awarders of these contracts are not awarding their relatives, their children? Great programs have been authored in this country, but they have died because of that. How? Without putting in checks and balances, and make sure that if you are on the board that awards these contracts, none of your immediate family members are benefiting. The spirit of patriotism and nationalism cannot only just be talked about, it has to be seen done. Oftentimes, these great ideas have been done before. And we ask ourselves, why do they fail? Why do they fail? Everywhere you will look where things have worked is because it has been on a personal integrity of the individual, not a government affirmative action. So there has to be checks and balances. And Parliament must, because Parliament is the only organ that represents aspirations of the people from all over the country. So Parliament must hold this baby. You call it a meal, but a meal can be poisonous. Yeah. And it'll be lacking nutrition. So the people who are cooking this meal or putting on a plate and serving it to the people, it has to be with ultimate integrity, not to be left. I was once involved with youth library program when the version 86 youth wanted to inject themselves and make things happen. We found out that the contract and the awarding by the cows and others were completely fraudulent. And good people pulled out. They said this is not going to work. So I suggest, Mr. Chairman, let this not be the end. Call all people in the district, everybody who is involved with PPDA in a meeting. They will pay for their way. They will come with their muogo for lunch. And let them be seriously address this issue so that they will allow even oversight. They will understand that this is going to work. We don't want to, I don't want to give real examples, but if you go right now and you look at how we are handling parish models and other schemes, wealth creations and others, you'll find out that the money that was given on the first incident, because this is public funds. These are public funds and they're going to be spent. And we don't want shadow work. We want quality people to be producing a quality work. So Mr. Chairman, I'll ask you that call everybody who's going to be concerned in disbursing public funds so that they are seriously addressed. They know before you give them the power and write guidelines. This is what it takes for you to qualify in all languages of Uganda. Because if that is not done, you will seek it as 1,000,000 times. And nobody will take. So that is the point. The house. How? I'm in charge. Thank God you've given us a very great example. You're riding a bicycle. You heard they are giving contracts for garbage collection. You applied. Why? Because there was integrity in URA. There was integrity in URA, so they granted it to you. Now you're a member of Parliament. Maybe that money paid your fees. And here you are serving. We have lost a lot of opportunities with many young Ugandans, especially youth, to have an opportunity to contribute because of nepotism. Because of people. And oftentimes when you talk about nepotism, people talk about the big offices and other things, but it's embedded in our culture. Oluganda kulya. Olugenda enjala terudda. The first person you will tell, the first person you tell, you open a door for you, is not the qualified one. Is who known to you. So if we're going to help the disabled, if we're going to help the women, Mr. Chairman, if we're going to help the youth, it has to be very transparent. And it has to give hope. Because you are dealing with 65% of the national budget. The second point, that can we also tie it? Because I hear they are skilling. There are many youth are being skilled today. in many, many fashions. Can we tie it or bring the people who are doing skilling so that they don't skill our young people only in tying hair? I'm sorry, I'm a preacher. I don't know how to say it diplomatically. So that we skill them. I love what the president, when he was at Makerere University, inaugurating the new chancellor, he allowed them to give them a road construction unit. Because it's so funny that you have Makerere University producing engineers and they don't even know how to make a road. So if this is public funds, can PPDA or you make another recommendation or amendment to put it inside that this is required? So those who are using public funds to skill the youth, skill them in the direction of wealth creation, in the direction of procurement, so that someone will be skilled, not just to do things for himself, so that he may be able to obtain access to these funds. With those few words, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Our guests. I'm here in this big chair in representation of the Right Honourable Speaker. The Speaker in Parliament can delegate to the Deputy Speaker or any of the 4 commissioners, or in her choosing a member of Parliament, which is rare, but normally speakers, the commissioners are available to support the Right Honourable Speaker in executing duties in this building. This morning, and now part of the afternoon, I've been honoured in a minute, because the Speaker's remarks are written, that I would simply read them. First of all, I want to appreciate all of you for reserving time. It's very rare that the House will make a law and then will do a practical follow-up over the same. The only legislations we reach just a follow-up to are normally electoral in nature, because they do directly impact on our presence in this building and elsewhere. So we are very keen on electoral legislation. And I think today is quite an informative day. The legislation should never be in vain. And whichever laws we make, other than leaving it to other agencies of government in officialdom, all of us, citizens in these spaces, have a duty to follow up on the reasons why laws are made. I'm very excited that the spectrum of this forum is a representation of the public space and the private sector actors. I had the fine lady from Stanbic Bank. Is it Stanbic? Yes. Then other private agencies. Then other public space, private space actors. I've not met Mr. Columbus, but I listened to him. I actually thought you looked like a Columbus monkey, but you are a very handsome man. That said, it's very exciting to know that even before this law was in place, there are agencies in public space that had woken up to the reality of our time, namely that we owed a duty of care to very critical segments of our society. So kudos to URA for moving ahead of the times. I actually shared deeply with the Honorable Odoi here, a former ghetto boy, and he gave me his story, very humbling story, and how he was able to scale the heights beginning from scratch. And I think it's a story you need to go across and share with the young people so that they can understand that all does not begin from the branches. It can actually begin from the lowest part of the tree into the branches where the fruits actually lie. So I want to congratulate you. I heard that in this room we have the Right Honourable Speaker of the Youth Parliament, the fine lady. Will you rise so that they can know you are around? Please rise again. Madam Right Honourable Speaker, you have a job on your hands. The space you occupy with other youth leaders in the local government should have now occasion to go and do something. The youth, away from the political giggles and what, should really be motivated to go and follow up. Would not make this legislation in vain. Charge them up to go and make follow up. I know the youth MPs have made a timetable. I don't know how you're going to be effective in following up in all the local government, but probably, like the good past advised, summon up stakeholders in their different spaces, because they need education. I'm not so sure how many entities are alive to the existence of this law and how much a cure it can be to very serious afflictions, say, of the women. The potential of the women. Men are just wiseacres. The real workers are women. You know, when you hear men making noise, so much noise around, you think they actually work. But because our voice is loud even without a microphone, we actually occupy a lot of space and airplay. If you empower a woman, you are sure the kids will go to school. When I speak to my voters, I normally tell them, if you have 100K in the pocket of a woman, kuchikondo ky'omukyala, is higher than $1 million in a man's wallet. There's something wrong with money in the wallet of a man. I don't know what happens with it. So anything and everything in our capacity we can do to really empower that category of people. For me, that's what I've been doing all the several years I've been in public life. I've empowered women in my community. I will never regret it because it actually works. You see children well dressed, children are fed, children go to school. Eventually, they even put up housing for their drunken husbands. So, yeah, we have every reason to say shame. So we have every reason to celebrate an opportunity to even legally enforce this kind of framework. No doubt, speaking about young people, we know what it means about empowering young people. Actually, it's the biggest challenge in our times. How do we get young people? Men have gone to school. They're everywhere. But I'm glad that PPDA is here. You have the best understanding of what happens in procurement. Like the pastor observed, you go to a local government, and then a small contract for cleaning a town yard is owned by the head of procurement. It's stupid of us. The head of procurement has the contract, then his nephew, then his concubine, then his... yeah, so these are the things we must deal with, and decisively and firmly. But also the youth have information at their disposal should follow up some of these challenges, that this law is not in vain. It's not my day. Allow me to relay the message of the Right Honourable Speaker. But I thought I should, as lawyers call it, obiter person. So this is the message of the Right Honourable Speaker. I will skip the protocol because I observe it on her behalf. From the results of the National Census 2024, if anyone needed any further motivation and conviction to understand and appreciate the fate and needs of the younger people, women, and PWDs in this country, the structure of the census offered the answer. That more than 70% of our population are young people below 30 years was an eye-opener. Therefore, when Parliament was invited to consider key amendments to the PPDA laws, the debate that ensued during its consideration had in mind the structure of our population. We are talking about the fate of the most active part of our population, the youth and the women, and also the most vulnerable part of our population, the PWDs, driven by nothing but the desire to succeed and overcome any forms of adversity. Parliaments world over are the midwives of greater and enduring national growth and prosperity by considering legislation that activates the potential of the country's most potent section of the population. As the 11th Parliament, I am happy to have been part of this endeavor, and finally this milestone on behalf of Parliament of Uganda, doing this for the young people, the women, and persons with disability. I'd like to appreciate the efforts of the representatives of the younger people in the 11th Parliament, especially Honorable Bernard Dodoi, who mobilized his colleagues to spearhead this initiative of this afternoon. I'd wish to appreciate and acknowledge in a special way the agencies, both in the public and the private sector, that have made this activation mainstreamed in their procurement plans, involving the youth, women, and persons with disabilities, who constitute the largest labor force as well as the largest segment of consumers, is the only strategic way of sustaining company visibility and growth. Activating the amendments we made a few months ago, activating the amendments we made a few months ago should also remind all concerned, and especially legislators and the executive, that the laws we make and the policies we put in place should never be left to gather dust on the shelves. We must have a clear framework that will drive implementation of such policies and enacted laws by all stakeholders to benefit our common peoples. The young people and the women, together with PWDs in this country, should never be seen as a problem, but a treasure that must be put to good use and harnessed. The responsibility of creating opportunities for them lies squarely on our shoulders as leaders of this country. I am happy today that we are following up on what we started in this 11th Parliament and to remain part of our legacy. Parliament, through our various committees, will follow up keenly on how our baby grows at the 11th Parliament. As Parliament of Uganda, we are here to commit that we are ready to lead by example to ensure that activation of the law is one of our immediate undertakings. Once again, I thank everyone who has turned up today for this very unique occasion, and pray there is follow-up from everyone on the commitments made on behalf of the young people, the women, and persons with disability. Anita Among, Speaker, Parliament of Uganda, for God and my country.
Parliament ya Uganda.
Colleagues, we are not yet done.
Parliament ya Uganda okuyisa etteeka lino okulongoosa mu tteeka mu kawaayiro akali kakwata ku PPDA nga bwemanyiddwa, public private procurement, nga bwebeera ab'okufuna ebintu oba okuguza gavumenti egula bulijjo ebintu oba ekola ebintu ng'ekozesa ssente ez'omuwi w'omusolo. Kati ssente ezo ebitundu 65 ku buli 100 zigula ebintu ebiyimirizaawo eggwanga gavumenti esobole okukola emirimu gyayo. Kakati palamenti nesalawo nti bakyuseemu obuwaayiro obwo obubiri bayingizeemu abavubuka nabo basobole okuba nti basobola okusaba oba ne babaweebwa omukisa nabo babeeko bye basobola okuba nga bettanira mu mulimu ogwo, n'abakyala n'abantu baffe abaliko obulemu nga mwannyinaze wano. Kati ekyo kyekimu ku mateeka ga Parliament geekoze ku mateeka amangi, naye nze nzikiriza nti kino kirungi nnyo, nange kyandeese okubeera nti nga bassa mu nkola etteeka lino lisobole okubeera nti abagaba emirimu okuviira ddala wonna awali ssente za gavumenti, awali ssente za gavumenti zonna, oba bagenda kukola luguudo, oba bagenda kuwalirira myala, oba bagenda kukola kintu, oba kugula mbaawo za ssomero nga gavumenti ewaddeyo ssente bagende bagulire essomero ly'egindi, contract eyo babe nga basobola ogiwa either ebitundu 15 ku buli 100 bateekemu abakyala, bateekemu abaami n'ab'obulemu. So twagala ekyo kyebaliza kikulu nnyo, naye nze ebyange bibadde bigamba nti kino tuleme kukita, kireme kufa, ffenna tukitunulire n'amaaso n'eriiso ejjogi lwa nsonga nti ebintu bibaddewo era ssente zifuluma era abantu badde bakola ebintu, naye ababadde bagaba contracts ezo ebiseera ebisinga obungi tebasussa maaso we basula, tebasussa maaso mu bamanyi, ne balekera abantu abalala obutaweebwa mukisa. Tuweereddwa akakisa, tulabye chairman ow'akakiiko kano atuyise Honorable Odoi yali ng'akyasoma n'afuna eggaali ng'asomba ebisaaniiko mu Kampala, yali mu high school, n'awulira nti abakitongole kikuŋŋaanya omusolo bagaba contracts, n'adduka n'agendayo, teri yali amumanyi, tewali amuwa recommendation, bamugamba bw'oba okola application saba emitwalo 4 gy'oba oleeta, n'agiwaayo ne bamuwa contract. Teyalina mmotoka, teyalina bino bisomba bintu, era mbagambye wano nti URA lwakubanga yo on individual basis like an organization yetambulira mu buki, mu bwerufu, eriyo obwerufu mu kitongole eyo. So mbadde nsaba era kwe kusaba kwange nti abantu bano bonna bakola mu kugaba contracts za gavumenti zonna we bali, oba oli mu kyalo oba oli ku level ki, basooke bayite mu lukuŋŋaana, babayite mu lukuŋŋaana bonna bajje baweebwe etteeka ekkakali nti singa osangibwa ng'ebintu ate gw'obyewadde oba okoze otya omulimu gukufa, kabe kasinge bakuteekemu ne mu mbuzi ekogga. Ekyo kijja kuleeta essuubi, kino kye tufunye kikulu nnyo, era nze nzikiriza kijja kujja obwavu mu Uganda, era kijja kuleeta abantu bangi nnyo abali taxable, abakuŋŋaanyizibwako omusolo, kubanga bufuna contract ya gavumenti ate era naffe ezaffe eza gavumenti olina okuzituddiza ate tusobole okwongera contract endala. So n'olw'ensonga eyo abantu abali taxable oba bakuŋŋaanyako omusolo tujja kusobola okweyonga ova ku bitundu 14 ku buli 100 tutuuke mu 25 ku buli 100. Eyo nno ye wealth creation, bwe kutonda obugagga, kuba tosobola kukola bugagga nga tolina bakola bugagga. Akati ekiskiring enviiri mbadde nsaba nti kino ekyafulumye kubanga kirimu ssente za gavumenti, waliwo ate president askiringa abavubuka bangi ddala, era bangi bafunye ekyokukola, tebakyali baavu. Naye mbadde njagala, singa mbadde nsaba, singa na kino bakikwataganyako n'abo ababadde skilled mu mirimu egirala egiba gyetaagisa okusupplyinga, nabo ne babataakingako, ne tubanga ejjinja limu likuba enkofu 8 nti kino tekikolebwa ku bwakyo kyokka, abantu ne bawa contract naye ng'ate abaasomerera ebintu ebyo era nabo tebasobodde kufuna kyakkola, ate nga basobola okuba nga basobola okukikola obulungi. So kwe kusaba kwange okubaddewo. Honorable Kabanda,
mateeka mangi tugakola ne gatagasa bantu lwa nsonga ebirungi nga bino bimanyibwako batono nnyo, abo bokka kyenkana babiteeka mu nkola, nekireetera okubanga abooluganda bako n'emikwano be babifunamu. Obuvunaanyizibwa bw'olukiiko luno olukuliddwa members of parliament ababavubuka kaweefube gwe ttaddewo okugenda mu byalo okubuulira abantu baffe omukisa guno bagweyunire. Naffe abaka ba parliament tugenda kuteeka ninga kati ku districts zaffe okulanga bu contract obwo butono bu miliyoni 10 babuwa abavubuka n'abakyala baffe abanafu wansi eyo babukole. Wosanga nga bu contract buno ate era babuwa abasajja bagagga abagagga ne bakozesa abavubuka baffe ne basigala nga tebafunyeemu. Ekigendererwa kino kyakuba contracts entonotono bwe ziba ku district level wakiri million 10, bwe ziba ku national level wakiri million 3 ziweebwe abaana baffe abakyatandika. Tebasaba experience, tebasaba sente za buwanana zalisaba URA okubeera ng'osaba, byonna byagonzebwa abantu baffe bafunemu. So tukola guno kujjawo kuba nti nno ebirungi bigasa abo bokka abeerina akakwata n'abakola mu gavumenti kubanga bebamanya amateeka babeera ku TV nga twogera oluzungu. Katugenda mu byalo twogera ennimi abantu abali wansi ze bategeera basobole okubeera nga beeyunula omukisa guno okuba nga bafuna mu gavumenti.
Uganda Eyenkya.